Good afternoon, everybody. David Shuster here on Take Action News for the weekend of December the 8th, 2012. So glad to have you with us listening on all of our various outlets, radio, and YouTube. We now have a YouTube channel, believe it or not, Take Action News TV. Thanks to everybody who's watching us up there. I was just astounded this week, when there was a poll that came out that found, and it asked, how many Americans, how many Republicans believe that President Obama stole the election and that ACORN was somehow involved. ACORN. 49% of Republicans believe that the election was stolen by President Obama with the help of ACORN, right?
Well, that was one of the miraculous things that we played that Charles Krauthammer clip before, and he actually says Obama thinks he actually won this election.
Well, you know, what gets, and never mind that, I think we can agree that Obama did win this election, but if you're going to blame it on anybody, if you're a Republican or if you're a conservative and you think, oh my God, they stole the election, wouldn't you say, you know, that you'd come up with a plausible scenario? Like, you know, ACORN hasn't existed for 2 years. ACORN was shut down. There was a conservative activist, whose name shall not be mentioned, but who did a sort of a video sting of ACORN, in which one ACORN official was apparently giving some improper help to somebody who was posing as a prostitute. That led into an investigation, and ACORN was essentially shut down. ACORN does not exist. It existed once upon a time, and I think it was a valuable organization to help folks in inner cities in terms of getting, you know, voter registration and all the things that they need. But ACORN was shut down. It was stopped 2 years ago, and yet you have people on the right, conservatives, 49% who believe ACORN helped President Obama steal this election. It's crazy. So what are we going to do about it? Well, this gets to an issue that, and we're going to talk about this more later in the program, but this gets to an issue that I've been harping on for some time, and that is, as long as we have media outlets who are being so reckless and so irresponsible in how they present the news and how they present the world around us, that you're going to have misinformation. You're going to have a significant number of Republicans who believe, and by the way, they happen to be Republicans who watch Fox News, who believe that, yeah, we did find chemical weapons in Iraq, when we didn't. There are a significant number of Republicans who still believe that Iraq had something to do with 9/11. It did not have anything to do with 9/11. There are Republicans half of the Republicans who believe that President Obama stole this election with ACORN's help, which is impossible. Even if you want to believe that President Obama stole the election, he couldn't have done it through ACORN. ACORN doesn't exist. But when you listen to Fox News day in and day out, when you listen to Rush Limbaugh, when you listen to folks like this, you know, Mark Levin, conservative talk show host, they come up with this nonsense. There is no responsibility that they have to their listeners, except, I think, just to try to get them as riled up as possible, as fearful as possible. And then you have significant portions of our electorate who don't consider President Obama legitimate. And Daniel Mehrens, when you have a group of people who are part of our country who do not consider President Obama as legitimate, as a duly elected president, it becomes awfully hard then for Americans to work together to support anything the president does.
In fact, David, you saw proof of that back in August, right? Wasn't there something? I forget what it was. It was you were in Tampa covering the Republican National Convention. I'm just kidding. I didn't forget at all. It was extremely memorable. You reported something. You broke it on Twitter, the news that Republican attendees of the Republican National Convention threw nuts at a black CNN camera woman and said, "This is how we feed the animals." And it's a slippery slope, isn't it? I mean, people aren't making the connection between the nonsense now about the legitimacy of the president's election or earlier in the president's term when birtherism, the idea that he wasn't born in the United States, was a thing. When this really just extremely thinly veiled racism was pervading the country, and conservative and right-wing talkers and politicians were giving that, were validating that stuff. Well, no one's making the connection between that and the incident at the Republican National Convention.
Well, that's the thing is when you believe that President Obama is not legitimate, that he's not one of us, that he's not entitled to the presidency, and then there's the media, which is somehow aiding and abetting President Obama, then you think, okay, well, the media we can treat the media as if it's something less than human. No, by the way, African Americans who are part of whatever President Obama's stealing the presidency, whatever, that somehow they're less than American. It becomes a slippery slope, as you mentioned. We're going to be talking about that more later in the show, about some of the misinformation on the right and what all of us can do to try to help correct it. But in the meantime, we're going to pause in about 15-20 seconds and let our syndicated stations join us, and then we will have one of our favorite segments, Alan Rosenblatt with social media, what's been trending, and interesting developments on the Republican side. But we're going to pause in just a second here, let our syndicated stations join us. You are listening to Take Action News on We Act Radio.